with the second session of today. We had already our session about anti-doping. Welcome to Sarah, Richard and James from the ITIA. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Hello.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome to Belgium from London. You're not exactly here, but okay. So who's sitting here? We have about 10 juniors, our top talents here present. We have also a number of coaches who are coaching these players from our high performance center. We have also here Guy Reinenberg from the Federal Police. You know Guy already, Sarah.
Okay. I do, yes. Hi, Guy.
Okay, so we are ready to start with the second part, and the floor is yours. Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Richard if you'd like to start, Richard.
Yes, thank you, and hello everyone. Thanks for inviting us to be a part of this session today. We really appreciate it. Hopefully it's not just all us talking to you and showing you slides, but there'll be a couple of opportunities just for some interaction. So hopefully we can hear you okay in the room. If we ask a few questions, don't feel shy to shout out with anything that we have for you. So hopefully from this session you'll be able to learn a little bit more about what we do at the International Tennis Integrity Agency, about some things that are going to become very important for you as players the more you progress throughout your careers, and also to learn a little bit about how we're working together with your federation and Tennis for London and also local law enforcement to make sure that we're protecting you all and supporting you as much as we can, and that a lot of the things we're going to be talking about hopefully will never happen to you in your career, but if these sorts of things do happen, you know the steps to take to be able to deal with these in a good manner. So just by a quick way of introduction, my name is Richard. I work in the education team at the ITIA, and then these are my colleagues, James, who's also in the education team with me, and Sarah from our investigations team. So hopefully my slides will
It's all right, Rich. I think I'm sharing instead.
Ah, okay. Excellent. So just for a very brief background for who we are at the International Tennis Integrity Agency, or ITIA. Lots of you probably have heard us. If you're players in the ITF Junior Tour, you would have had to have done the module on the ITF Academy, and some of you may have done our Tennis Integrity Protection Program. But essentially what we do is we work on behalf of all of the governing bodies that you can see on the screen there, the ATP, the WTA, the ITF, and the 4 Grand Slams. And it's our job to protect tennis from what we call betting related corruption, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about what constitutes that, but also the anti-doping program sits under us as well. So we make sure that tennis is, as you can see there, a sport that everyone can trust, a sport that is fair for you as players. You know that the person on the other side of the net is competing just as fair and as cleanly as you, and we know that everyone is competing on a level playing field. So we're based in London, in England, but we look after the whole sport, after the integrity rules for the whole sport globally. So some of you may have seen us at events on the tour already, or you may see some of our colleagues around the world. So we look after the entire world, hence why working with federations such as yours. So very quickly to start off with on the next slide, you may recognize, or I hope you recognize, all of these players on the screen here, so very close to home. So this is our part for interaction, so I want to hear your voices. So with all the players we have on the screen here from Belgium, all fantastic players in their own right. So David, Elise, Alexander and Jelena. I hope I've pronounced all the names correctly there. What are some things that they all share, some common traits or personality things, or the way they are on the court that you aspire to have with them as well, that you aspire to share like them? I'm not sure if we'll be able to hear people shouting out, but maybe Guy or Dirk can help with us. And maybe are they hardworking? Any other attributes that they have?
Can you repeat the question again?
Absolutely. So what are some common traits that these 4 players have that the players in the room would like to aspire to have as well? For example, hard work. Are they all hardworking?
How do they inspire you, these athletes? They have discipline.
Discipline. Brilliant. Anything else?
Fighting spirit.
Yeah, discipline, spirit, hard work. These are all fantastic attributes and they're good things for you. They're excellent role models for you all at the professional level and at the junior level to aspire to have. So when we move on, moving on to the next slide, in terms of how tennis can be important to you, to throw the question back out to the room again, what are some values and some lessons that you've all learned from your time playing tennis that you apply to life every day?
What have you learned of values to your normal life?
So just for example, James and I are tennis players, probably not at the level of all of you in the room, but I think we've learned a lot about respect from playing tennis. Is there anything else that anyone might like to add?
Responsibility.
Responsibility, that's a brilliant one. I'll take one more from the room.
Finding solutions.
Finding solutions, that's a good one, of course. Tennis is a very good sport for that. So all of these things are fantastic values and lessons that we learn from our time on the court, but it's about learning how to apply this to our off-court life as well, particularly as you progress through juniors and into more professional tennis and playing full-time. It's about applying those same lessons of respect, discipline, finding solutions and making correct decisions. Ultimately, with everything we're going to talk about today about integrity, it's about making the right decisions in each situation that we might face off court as well. So when we talk about the word integrity, one definition that we like to use that we think lends itself quite nicely to tennis, if we move on to the next slide, is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And we appreciate, of course, that the right decision isn't always the easy one. But we think with this definition, it lends itself quite nicely to our sport. So our sport, of course, largely is an individual sport. There may be times where you might not have your friends traveling with you, you might not have your coaches or your parents or your family with you, and there may be some tough situations that you're going to face out there on the road. And in those moments, it's about applying those lessons of finding solutions like you just talked about, which you're all excellent at doing on the court. It's about having respect for others and for rules and applying those to your off-court life as well. So when we talk about integrity, that's what we mean. So moving on, I'll hand over to James just to talk a little bit about one of the programs which we oversee, which is the Tennis Anti-Corruption Program.
Great, thank you, Rich. And we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end, guys. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to remember them and then bring them up at the right time. So we're going to start with the Tennis Anti-Corruption Program. I'm going to be brave and ask the room, has anyone heard of the Tennis Anti-Corruption Program before? No pressure if you have not.
One hand is up, two hands are up. The coaches are.
Right. No, fantastic. No, that's really good. If you haven't, don't worry. You're definitely in the right place. Okay, so the Tennis Anti-Corruption Program. So we've got a list of some of the sort of areas here that we focus on with the Tennis Anti-Corruption Program. So you're probably familiar with quite a few of these, or you may have heard one or two. I won't go through every single one on the list because I'm sure you can read them yourselves. But for example, do not share inside information. We often have questions about this one. So, you know, if you're playing an opponent in the next round or playing a doubles with one of your friends and they might have injured themselves in a way, or they might have a slight problem that they know about that's bothering them maybe, it's up to you to make sure you don't share that information unless they are comfortable and have shared it themselves. Okay, so if it's inside information, it's always better to keep it that way and not share it wider unless the actual individual concerned with that has shared it. Okay. Another one right at the bottom there, obviously there's a lot of crosses there, but there is also a tick of mentioning reporting any knowledge of corruption. So we'll talk about that in a moment, but really important that if you do have any suspicions or knowledge of corruption, that you come and talk to the ITIA. Any questions on what's on the screen there? Great. Okay, I'll take.
Maybe do not bet on tennis. Which matches, tournaments, circuits? Is that clear enough?
So that relates to any level of tennis worldwide. So if you are a player or coaches who may be working with players and attending tournaments, or even even as staff at the federation yourselves, you can't bet on any tennis at any time anywhere in the world. So it's there are other sports that you may be able to bet on, but when it comes to tennis, even getting involved in betting can lead to a bit of a slippery slope to get involved with betting. So any level of tennis at any point to avoid and to steer clear of.
Yeah. Okay. Just to be clear, Belgian law says you may not bet on your own matches, but in tennis it's wider. It's about all tennis matches. So to be clear.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And just to add on there as well, this is something that these rules apply for 2 years, up to 2 years after your entry for your last event, okay?
Just to add there lastly before we move on, so with these rules, as we know, some of you in the room may still be competing as juniors. So these rules don't apply to the junior tour, so the ITF Junior Tour or Tennis Europe. But if you're a junior player, so under 18 and competing at ITF World Tennis Tour and above, so in professional tennis tournaments, these rules will apply to you as well. So just to keep that in mind.
Maybe about inside information, you know some things about other players. Maybe somebody's injured. He will play or she will play, but she's not in full shape, so she probably lose. This is information where criminal organizations are interested. That's why you may not share that information, because it can be misused.
Brilliant. Thank you all. Okay, we're going to move on to the next slide now. So we talked about talking to the ITIA. We used the word report before. We try and talk about talking to us because we really think it's important with integrity that you can have a chat with us even if you have a slight suspicion. It's better to be safe than sorry is quite a common sort of phrase you could relate to here, I guess. And one way in which we've tried to improve this is by having the ITIA app. So there is a QR code on your screen there as well. I know it's not maybe as cool as TikTok or Instagram, but it's a really easy way to stay in touch with us. And like I say, even if you can just come for a chat with us if you have any suspicions or even just a general question. It's always better to just stay in touch and be safe rather than sorry. And we'll come on to more on that theme in a bit. So I'm just going to hand over to Sarah now quickly, who's going to delve into some more specifics.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit more about match fixing. So this will apply to coaches in the audience as well as players here. So I would like you to look at that picture, what you see in front of you. And the question to you all is, if you were sharing with friends, maybe people outside of the tennis family, do you think that is the image that people think professional tennis players are playing at every day of the week? That is my question.
They say yes here.
Yes. I'm the same. And I know if I speak to people outside of the tennis family, they would think that's where I spend most of my time as an investigator, watching tennis at big tournaments. However, I would like to show you the next slide. And this is more of a reality. And I spend a lot of time on the World Tennis Tour, and I spend my time at tournaments like this. Is this sort of familiar to some of you in the room, this type of tournament?
Yeah, they're saying yes. Seems familiar.
Okay. It seems very familiar. I appreciate there's nobody on court and we don't have a chair umpire. But my question as well here to the room is, if I said to you that people are able to place bets on professional tennis matches, so not junior matches, but professional matches, which of the two tournaments do you think that bettors are able to place bets through a betting company on a regulated market? Which of the two do you think they could bet on? Which of the matches? If a match was being played on this and the first slide.
This one or Roland Garros or Wimbledon? They say here this one.
The one on the screen, yes.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, it's both. So when people talk about betting on sport, on professional tennis, it can be at all levels of tennis. So when juniors start playing on the tour, the World Tennis Tour, their matches could be bet on very, very early on. So imagine a match is being played here on this later today, and across the world, people can place bets on this particular match that's going to be played. Let's say it's a singles match, first round, qualies. Let's go for a qualies match. How much do you think could be traded, when I use that word, bet on this particular type of tournament across the world?
You want to hear an amount of money?
Yeah,
of
how
dollars.
much do you think?
Okay.
Or euros, whatever figures. I'm happy to hear any.
Somebody a guess?
So
how much money is betting on this particular match?
Could be bet. Yes, thank you, Dirk.
50,000.
Okay, well, what we'll do, we'll put another zero on that and make it 500,000, would be an average. That is for an average match on the World Tennis Tour. That is the amount that is traded through the betting companies globally. So what I was really trying to get you to envisage is how much money is being spent and bet on a match. So when you saw the previous slide where we talked about inside information, that's why it's really important not to be leaking information to anybody, because there is so much betting going on. Now, what I would like to say to you is, what would you do if someone approached you at a tournament and made an offer to you to fix a match? What would your first actions be, either in your role as a coach or as a player?
You're approached. What will you do with an offer?
To fix. Yeah.
To fix, yeah. Eileen says she would talk to her coach. Who's
very good answer. Yeah, that's a great answer. There are two more very good ones if they're available in the room.
I'm looking at the room now. But I don't see hands up.
Okay, that's
just
fine.
report it. Just report it. To who?
Yes, exactly. To who? Yes.
To the ITIA.
Yes. So if you were ever subject to an approach, you must report it. Now, in the first instance, from experience, I know players would approach, like you say, the coach. The supervisor at the tournament is also a very good person to approach, because they are usually very knowledgeable not only in the sport, but in contact with ourselves. And then the other way is to contact the ITIA, and that can be either by email or, as we said, you can contact us through the ITIA app, which is a very good way of doing it. It's very easy to be able to send us information. So with an offer, we talk about corrupt approaches, and I appreciate some people have limited experience on this. However, if I was to say someone could make an approach to you, who could that be? What type of person could make a corrupt approach to you?
Who would approach you?
For a corrupt, who could it be?
Any person? Anyone, they say here?
Yeah, a person. What type of person? So, for example...
A coach, one says here.
A coach? Yeah.
Another player?
Great answer. Yes.
I don't have pre-informed them.
Okay. Well, they were great answers straight away. What really is, when someone makes an approach, it could absolutely be anybody. So it could be a family member, it could be a family friend, it could be a tennis player, like you have said. And actually, in the sport, we are seeing that more and more, where one tennis player will approach another tennis player and encourage them to fix a match. And so that is something that the ITIA must be made aware of at the earliest opportunity. So going back to what Richard was saying earlier, it's about being brave and being able to talk to us and let us know at the earliest opportunity. So I can't emphasize that enough. And an offer, as it says on the PowerPoint there, it's fixing, it could be the entire game. It could be fixing a point within the game, and it could be fixing one or both sets. So sometimes it's one game in one set, and sometimes it's 1 point within a game. But all of that constitutes fixing. Now, for a player to do that and make that agreement with someone, there will be a benefit, and that is usually financial, but it can be other things. Tennis rackets, tennis lessons, it could be travel or accommodation. So when people are making an approach to a player, they can do it in a nice way, and it sounds like a really good thing, like how someone can help you with your career. And it's just something to be aware of. If it seems too good to be true, it often can be. So please be aware when someone's trying to help you, just have a raised awareness as to what they may want, because in the future they may ask you to fix a match. So the advantage of fixing a match with a player, the corruptor will know that that particular point will be fixed. So therefore they can spend a lot of money across many accounts and make a lot of money. So if we were looking at that figure globally of 500,000 euros, the player would probably receive, if I say 1,000 euros for fixing a match, does anybody in the room think 1,000 euros for fixing a match is worth it? This is not a trick question, by the way.
Is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
You've seen the amount they bet on.
Yeah, that's what the bettors are making.
And they are offering
trading.
1,000 euros on top of your prize money.
Yeah.
No amount is worth it. Is a coach saying?
The perfect answer. Thank you. Perfect answer. Absolutely not. And the reason is, once you've done it once, if a player was to commit to fixing one match, the corruptors don't go away. They may come back to you, and therefore, one thing we say sometimes is you can't buy integrity. And so if you're ever at a low point or any time within your career you ever felt vulnerable to an approach because maybe finances are, short at home and mum and dad have said no more money, it's just something to bear in mind. If you're ever at that point, you could receive an approach. So always look back to this presentation and think, no, I mustn't do it regardless, because you don't want to get involved in that. Now, if a match is bet on and there's some unusual betting, and that often happens, there is unusual betting across different matches, and so maybe you're spoken to by the ITIA for good reasons, because we need to find out a little bit about a match, or it could be that we have strong suspicion that a player could be involved in fixing, but the betting operators will always contact the ITIA, and someone like myself, and there's a few investigators here in London, we will look into that, and we will liaise with the tournament supervisor, who is able to give us information about the actual court, the actual match, and if there were any injuries, any toilet breaks, we get all that information shared with us, and that gives us balance. But in those circumstances, the best person to speak to would be the players on the court. So please do not ever be afraid if you are approached and you've done nothing. There is really nothing to worry about, because we're here for the good and the bad.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So building on what we've just talking about with approaches, you've all said in the room, it could be coaches, it can be other players, and unfortunately it is, as Sarah said, someone who corrupts. They won't necessarily just look like a scary mafia type looking person. Unfortunately, what we're seeing more and more is there are people that look like ourselves from the tennis world. They may dress like they're from tennis. They may act like they fit in and they may come and talk to you in person. They may find ways to kind of try and build a bit of a relationship with you. So to build on what James was talking about earlier, and we were talked about in the room, it's really important to just, know who you can trust within your circle, within your team, know what things you're telling people, and just, being aware of certain things that you can be private about. So quick question to the room, hands up, because I can see a few hands that are in the room. Who has multiple social media accounts? I'm going to say, who has more than 2 social media accounts? Hands up. Yeah, I can see some hands go straight
multiple,
up.
Multiple, more than one. So WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, of course. We all,
most of
myself, James, Sarah, we just put
most
our
of the hands
up
are
as
up.
well. Of course, excellent. And social media is a brilliant tool, isn't it? It helps us stay connected to each other. For you all, as you're building your profile in the game, it helps you to engage with your fans and people when you're on tour. It can be a fantastic tool. But unfortunately, this is also a really common way we see people try and build relationships with players. And they do some things that Sarah was talking about in terms of maybe asking you for information or saying, hey, look, I know what tournament you're playing tomorrow. I know you can beat that player in 3 sets. Just lose the first set and that's it. That's fine. No one has to know. These sorts of messages we see more and more coming in through players' DMs. Okay, and that's where our app can be really handy, because it's really easy tool to just quickly take a screenshot of that, to send us that information. That will go to Sarah and her team, and they will always reply to you. They will always give you advice on what steps to take. And we kind of have 4 things that we recommend to you if anything comes in off social media, and that is, don't reply to the person. Sometimes players can be tempted to have a bit of dialogue with the person, but don't reply to them. As I said, take a screenshot so that we have pictures and some evidence of what it is that person is asking you to do, and send it through to us, or talk about it with your team at the federation, who will also be in touch with us. Okay, so that's just a bit of guidance. If anyone messages you anything to do with what came up on that TACP slide, those things you need to talk to us about. If we know, unfortunately, some of you may experience this already, that there can be some unfortunate, nasty messages that you get, whether you win, unfortunately, or lose matches. And that's a really unfortunate part of the game. We would hate to just be getting nasty messages for just doing our job. So those sorts of messages, that I know that within Belgium there, and with working with the police over there are different avenues you can use to send people those messages if they're really unsettling or make you feel uncomfortable or upset. But you can also talk to the social media companies about that. They each have different kind of reporting mechanisms. So it's kind of up to you how you would like to deal with those messages. Some players just delete and block and don't listen to those. Some players like to act on it and report those, and that's absolutely fine. But if it's anything to do with information or betting or fixing, those sorts of things, you just come and have a chat with us about, and we'll advise you for what to do. So I believe now, Dirk or Guy, you have a couple of slides you wanted to run through, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't have slides, but Guy will address some words to the audience here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Sarah. Now I see you completely. I hop over to the other side. Hi, Richard and James. Thank you very much. My name is Guy Rijnenberg. I'm a member of the Federal Police and the sports fraud team. I'm also coordinator at the national platform in the battle and the stride against match fixing in Belgium. And we work closely together with ITIA. That's why we know each other. We invite them regularly, also at the tournament in Kokzijde each year. We see each other, we meet each other, we pass on information. And it's very clear. I wanted to ask one question. Who has the ITIA app on his cell phone? Aha. Guys, it's time to do it. Time to put it in on your cell phone. Why? Because it's an easy way to communicate. It's an easy way to get that information to the right partners in this battle and in this fight against match fixing and hate speech. We have one very brave lady in the room, Amelie, who stood up and said, okay, enough is enough. And when you get that hate speech, that bagger on your phone, on your social media account, please, as they said, take a snapshot, send it over, get some good advice. And yeah, there are a lot of good advices. For example, your social media, 2 hours, half a day, or a day before your match. Let it treated by your sister, by your brother, by your parents, by your coach, whatever. Don't look at it. Don't let it influence your game. Very important advice, but a lot of very good advices that are better than us. Know that we are trying from the law enforcement side, trying to do something about it. It's not always easy. We know a lot of those hate speeches and bagger will come from punters. Punters are people who will bet on your games when you're playing. That they come from Russia, Ukraine, China, Asia, whatever. They come from all over the world because they are interested in your little game in Belgium, because you saw the court. And it's true, 500,000. We saw amounts in our investigations that people put a lot of more in your games. So it's very important to report if someone is approaching you, someone is trying to influence you in your game for the result, or to get you in a bad mood that you will lose, or other things. They said it a little bit, I didn't hear the word, but grooming. Everybody, who knows what grooming is? And firstly, the youngsters. Wie weet wat grooming is? Ooit van gehoord? Everybody noticed it? Never heard of it? So it's not only, first it came with sexual harassment. Grooming is someone who is trying to get close to you to get sexual favors in the beginning. Now grooming is hopping over to the sports and someone is becoming very friendly with you. Hey, I'm your pal. I'm giving you a new racket. Come, I invite you to a little party. Going out. Hey, have a little party in the weekend. And little by little, they're stepping into your inner circle. Zij komen zeer graag heel kort bij jullie. Feestjes, parties, whatever. And then they will ask you to influence a match. Not only in tennis, also in football, in basketball, wherever. Because more and more the gaming world is taking over the sports world. Is influencing the sports world. And now we have criminal organizations. We have one big case, the Maestro case. Everybody knows something about the Maestro case? Zijn er mensen die hier iets van Maestro hebben gehoord? Someone heard about Maestro? Doesn't ring a bell? Voilà. Big tennis case. 7 professionele tennisspelers. 7 professional tennis players. Belgian tennis players were involved. 181 and more professional tennis players all over the world were implicated in this big match-fixing scandal originated in this little Belgium. I have a presentation, perhaps we get in the future the opportunity to show it, to know what is approaching to you. Do you know that what is happening above your head? Criminals are very interested in your game. And they want to spend a lot of money to get you on board. And we had, unfortunately, 7 professional tennis players involved. Unfortunately, because they were good players and good guys. But hey, when you're hopping over to the dark side, to the criminal side, they will sack you. And then we have ITIA. They will come after you. We will come after you. So please, when you are groomed, when someone is approaching you, your coach, integrity officer for the Tennis Federation, the Federal Police, we have a website, anonymous, sportfraude.be, sportsfraud.be, fraudsportief.be. We have it in all languages in Belgium. You can get it on your cell phone. Give us information. We need the information if someone is trying to get into your inner circle, to the tennis circle, because we want to prevent it, that they do on match fixing or they will influence you in your daily behavior. So I think that's in a nutshell what we do and what we can offer. And then I give the word back to Sarah, Richard, and James, or Dirk. I don't know if there are any questions.
You can continue from London.
Perfect. Thank you. And it's really good for you all to know that just to echo the words there, you have fantastic support around you. Not all players have the support of their federation and police like you do. So please do use all of us. You know, our job is to help you with these things so that you can focus on what's important, which is your tennis on the court. So we just have a couple more slides we just wanted to run through with you quickly. I don't know if they've come up on your screen in the room.
Just checking they're still there, yeah, because it says I'm sharing.
Excellent. Yeah, they've just
it's back on the screen.
So excellent. Thank you. So I know you just had a session on anti-doping, but it's just to build on some of the really important lessons you've heard just now before we came to speak to you about anti-doping. So this is where these sets of rules, if you are a junior player, you can have an anti-doping test, for example, and these rules will apply to you if you're playing on the ITF Junior Tour. So some of you may have experienced an anti-doping test already, or some of you might not have, and that's absolutely fine. But just to reiterate two really key things about anti-doping, which you may have heard already, but particularly with your diet and nutrition, and this extends to coaches and other people in the room who may help you with your diet. We appreciate, tennis is a very hard sport. It's lots of matches, lots of training. So we advise that if you can get as much of your energy and fuel that you need from your food, that's the best approach. But of course, some of you may use supplements and vitamins and protein and other products to help with your fuel for being on court. But it's really important if you do use things like protein or vitamin or other things like that to get in the good habits of checking what you're taking. When we talk about anti-doping, this is lots of the cases. In fact, most of the cases that happen are because of what's called accidental doping. It's players maybe having some supplements that are contaminated, that have something in them that they didn't know was in it, and they're getting into trouble. And you might have heard of some big cases in our sport, unfortunately, where this has been the case. So this is where, these sorts of things can be very avoidable. So work together with your coaches and with other people, if you have nutritionists that you work with, to use all of the organizations at the bottom there. They are all different tools you can use to search for different products you might use. So you might have some protein powder that you use. You might have some vitamins that you use. All of those websites at the bottom there, and we can share these with the Federation after, are tools you can use to check any supplements that you might need. And you can also, this is something you can ask us, and we can help advise you if that is something safe for you to use or not. Now, when we talk about medications, this is something that you can also, unfortunately, potentially get a positive test for in an anti-doping test. So it's really important as well with your medications, particularly when you might be on tour, to try and travel with things that you might take that you can trust from home, from Belgium, and don't buy any other products abroad. Because you could have two medicines which could look exactly the same in Belgium and the UK, for example, let's say, but the ingredients could be different. And in the UK, the ingredients could have something that could get you into trouble. So this website here on the screen is just another tool you can use. You can access it through our app and our website to check your medicines. And when we say medicines, that can be anything. It could be maybe you have a headache, maybe you have an upset tummy, maybe you have to use an asthma inhaler. Get in those good habits of checking what it is that you're putting inside your body, okay? And if you're not sure, that's where you ask a team, you ask us to help you with that. And we have some more resources, as I say, on our website and app to help you with that. So just a quick couple of things. I know we have coaches in the room just to speak to you all. We see you, a great word we use to describe you all is as an influencer. For us in the UK, at least, that's a term that is very popular now, is the term influencer. And I don't know if it translates into Flemish and French, but it's very true. Coaches, you are influencers. You have a great deal that players will learn from you every single day, whether that's about tennis life or just life in general. So for us, prevention starts with all of you coaches, okay? It starts with the values that you're going to be teaching your players about our world. The integrity values all comes from you. And lots of times players, you might go to your coaches as the first person if you have any issues, and that's absolutely fine. So we want to make sure coaches, you know absolutely everything you can about the rules, how to give your players support, and ultimately it's about protecting yourselves, coaches, protect your players, and we all protect our game. So on this next slide, we just have a couple of points just to consider. So just remember, have good behaviors when we talk about nutrition, as you would have heard on your last presentation, and anti-doping, and use tools such as what I've just talked about. And have these good behaviors when you're out there on the road, and when you may not have your friends around you, you may not have the support. It's, again, going back to decision making those right decisions time and time again. And remember that with all these rules, there may be different things that apply to whether you're playing Tennis Europe or ITF Junior Tour or ITF World Tennis Tour. So again, understanding what relates at different times, and hopefully from this session, you understand a little bit more about the rules and how they apply to you. But also, now that you've seen Sarah, you've seen James, myself, hopefully you think we're all very nice people. As I said, we're all here to help you. That's our job, is to prevent any of this stuff happening to you. Okay, so knowing that if you need anything, if you see us with the badge at a tournament, you can talk to us about anything. And as well, using some of our resources, which we'll quickly show you towards the end.
Thanks, Rich. Okay, so just to jump on top of that, so we've obviously talked about all the ways that you can talk to us, and I've said before about being safe rather than sorry. The reason for that is, as I'm sure you're aware, there are sanctions for those who fall in violation of the TACP or the TADP, so the anti-corruption or anti-doping programs. The big one I want to pull out of this is it's not just a ban at the bottom there. It's about your reputation. So we have the obvious things here about how you can be banned from the sport for life, and this can obviously affect your ranking and everything you've worked so hard for within the game. But a huge point to bring on is reputation, because as we've seen with social media, we talked about earlier, once something's online and you're involved in any capacity in it, it's always there, and it's something that's very, very hard to shake away from your name. And this can have widespread effects on not just you, but your team, your family. And so obviously it says they're tough sanctions, but also the consequences are huge. So as we've mentioned, it's always better just to, if you have any suspicions, pick up the phone or go on the app and have a quick chat, because it'll resolve any doubt in your mind. Because if you take those extra 2 minutes or anything just to have that chat, that could be something that clears you of a much more serious consequence. Is there any questions at this point on anything to do with sanctions?
Yep, one.
Well, it hasn't to do anything. It doesn't have anything to do with the sanctions in particular. But I was wondering, when you report during the app, what's the process you go through to? Is it something, you report something and you got in touch like immediately and you got questions, or is it something as a post and they come, you guys come back to it later on? What time will it cost if I'm approached and I report it? Does it consume the whole afternoon and the preparation to an upcoming match, or what can I expect when I report via using the app?
I'll let Sarah take that one. That's a great question.
Yeah. Hi. The app is immediate, so it will take you a few minutes to add what you need to add to the actual application, and it allows you, as we mentioned earlier, to upload any photographs. So if something happened online, or you've got a picture of a suspect, you could upload that very quickly. Now that comes into our office. Now we monitor it regularly, but not 24 hours a day. But it will be reported. So you as a player or as a coach will have fulfilled your obligation by reporting it. You would then hopefully, depending on the time of day, if it was in working hours, I would expect you would get a reply, an automated reply at least immediately. But then you will get further contact from our intel team, which is our intelligence team. And then if you, depending on how serious it was, it may come to someone like myself, and I can give you a real example that only happened a few weeks ago. A player reported something to me on, let's say, the Monday. I interviewed the player the following day, and then the following day I then interviewed the coach, and then within a week I was interviewing the suspect, who was a tennis player. So it can be very immediate. Can be if it's serious, and also it's prevention. We want to make sure we can stop, if it was a corruption, someone's made a corrupt approach, we want to stop it happening as soon as possible. So, but your response back to you will be quick. How long I need to interview you, for example, may take 2 hours, it may take an hour, but it's not going to take over your life. It would be, that would be the immediate response.
Thank you. More questions?
Right, I think we'll just... Oh, sorry, go on.
My question is also not about the sanctions, but last week we had the ATP event of Antwerp, and one of the sponsorships was Napoleon. It's a betting office. We see, for example, Stake. They do a big support to Davis Cup, to the development of Davis Cup, and it's big platforms that offer like live betting. And of course, I understand betting and influence on matches, but where is the line between legal and illegal betting? Because people bet on games because maybe the big tournaments, they even need those betting offices financially. And what is the opinion about this development in tennis?
That's a very good question. I'm happy to jump in there. So yeah, it is possible, as you mentioned, like with the tour event in Antwerp, it is possible for tournaments across the different tours to have betting sponsorship. But where the line applies to you all in the room as players and coaches and members of staff is by making sure that maybe if there is betting sponsorship going on of the tournament, that you don't take any of that money yourself. That's the line. And particularly with kind of general private sponsorship or businesses want to invest money in your careers, it's always worth making sure, or you always need to make sure and do some research with that company to make sure that any money that might be coming to you through that sponsorship is not through betting. So again, sometimes it just takes a quick search online of that company or other companies that they may work with. Or again, if you're not sure about, hey, can I work with this potential sponsor, or is there any line being crossed? You ask those questions to us and we can help you make sure that there's nothing, that everything is legitimate and that you're not crossing any lines. So if, as James said earlier, if there's any doubt or any question, that's the sort of thing we can help you with to make sure there's no grey area there. I hope that answers your question okay.
Yeah. It's a difficult one. So as a player, you may not be involved or work together with a betting company. That's clear, I think. And that's the line. They can be sponsor of a tournament, but there cannot be a direct money transfer between the company and you as a player. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And I'd extend that to coaches as well, particularly what we've seen, unfortunately, the last couple of years is maybe some companies who may have links to betting on tennis may ask a coach for an interview or to do a quick video, a promotional video. So again, checking that company, who they are, where that video may be posted, where that interview may be posted. So again, ask those sorts of questions if you're not sure so that you're not crossing any line.
I understand, but the betting is only possible when there is a live stream. And the live stream is exactly what is offered by those companies. So the companies who are the big sponsors, they provide a platform for the betting people.
Yes, that's correct.
Maybe I see it wrong.
I can jump in for 1 second on this, Sarah, if I may. It's not only the betting platforms that offer live streams. It's for all the betting platforms, because you can have courtsiders. I don't know if you're familiar with the term courtsiders. You can have people around with the public, sitting in the public and giving live information about a game, but it's for a game that not is presented on a live platform. So you can have all of them. You cannot bet on tennis, period. And you cannot engage with betting companies who are offering tennis. I saw the specification because we are large about all sports, basketball, football, and others. I saw on the first slide specifically, if I am right, James, it was you cannot engage with a betting sponsor that is offering tennis in his portfolio. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So, but How do you know that they are offering tennis? Then you have to check on the internet if they are offering tennis. But what do you do with the illegal? You mentioned stake. In Belgium, stake is an illegal betting platform. You can check it on Kansspelcommissie, the game regulator, the game regulator in Belgium, the Kansspelcommissie. You can check all the betting sites that are illegal. So quick check on the internet, that will give you or avoid some trouble afterwards. But the main rule is don't bet on tennis. Sorry. Now, Sarah, it's up on you. Up to you.
Yes, thank you. Guy, I was just actually going to add to that as well. When we talk about betting, just be very aware, as Richard has said, you may have a company that is not a betting company, but they have an affiliation with somebody, another company. It could be 2 or 3 companies, and they could be involved with betting. So I have dealt with quite a few players who have come to us and said, oh, but I'm with a clothing company, but a subsidiary of that company could be affiliated with betting. So be very, very aware. So that was one of the points that I wanted to make. And then to share with you, I was at a tournament only last week, and there were bets being placed on the match. There was no chair umpire, and the players were scoring the match themselves. But they were still betting, so no live scoring, but pre-match, the bettors around the world could place bets on the set score. So whether it would be 2 sets to love or 2-1. But that is just to show it doesn't have to be live stream. Any match being played could be offered by a betting operator globally.
That's clear.
Yeah.
More questions?
Brilliant. If it's okay with the room, in the interest of time, I'll just jump to the end of the slides. We've got literally one more, and then we can open up the floor. So yeah, finally, just going to say there's the app again. It's a bit of a shameless plug from us, but yeah, as if you couldn't tell already today, it's a good idea just to have it. We are also contactable by other means, email, for example, if it's more a bit of an old-fashioned way now. But yeah, really taking away from today the clear message of making the right call. And if you're unsure, just ask or reach out to us. As Rich said, you'll often see us or one of the team present at tournaments. We don't bite. Please come and talk to us about anything. It doesn't get you in any trouble. And it's always better to be safe rather than sorry. But yeah, thinking like a professional, both on and off the court, and making sure, that hard work and determination and all those great traits we talked about earlier about why you look up to those idols within tennis, but also want to emulate on the court yourself. You don't put it all to waste. So you really get the most out of your career and go as far as you can.
Okay, thank you.
Great. So that brings us to the end. Again, I would like to open up for some questions here, if that's okay. I know we've had some already, but this is your chance. And remember, if you don't have them right now or want to ask them today, again, there's an app for that. So please fire away.
It's quiet in the room for the moment. No more questions? I don't think there will be more questions. We will continue with a short wrap-up, but we'll do it in Flemish, so to be sure that everybody has understood it quite well. So we can close the Teams meeting now. Thank you very much for being here, coming over, through the internet, but supporting us on this. We will for sure do it, maybe not next year, but maybe every 2 years, because it's important for the young players to be aware of that big issue, big threat there is in our sports. It's important, and we thank you. We have a bottle here, but I will send it over by boat to England. So thank you very much, and maybe a small applause.
Thanks,
guys. Lovely to see some of you around.
Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Good
See you
luck.
around. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye. Goed, Gert-Jan gaat nog iets zeggen, maar ik ga eerst nog een aantal puntjes een keer goed benadrukken om zeker te zijn dat alles goed overgekomen is. Overjas die jullie benadert, maar het zijn meestal mensen via dat grooming-systeem die eerst proberen jouw vertrouwen te winnen en die je benaderen en dan pas stappen verder gaan en kun ik je dit regelen of dat geven en je gaat er wat geld bij verdienen. Bijvoorbeeld die Maestro-case. En daar zit het grote gevaar in de lagere circuits. Daar verdien je nog niet veel geld. En men zegt, we gaan u helpen, uw prize money, we gaan hem verdubbelen of je gaat wat meer verdienen. Daar is het grote gevaar. En dat zijn die foto daar, die niet gecontroleerde toernooien. Daar kan van alles gebeuren. Op Roland Garros, op Wimbledon, is allemaal strikt. Niemand loopt zomaar binnen. In de kleinere toernooitjes, de mensen kunnen bij manier van spreken naast u zitten als je 's middags aan het eten bent en dan met een voorstel komen. Ja? Dus die 7 Belgische spelers zijn allemaal geschorst geweest omdat ze daarin meespeelden en dingen deden. Een bepaald punt of een bepaald spelletje. Dus het ging zelfs niet over een match winnen of verliezen, maar de eerste set verliezen of een dubbele fout slaan in het derde spelletje en zo verder. En ze kregen €250 of meer. Ja. Maar ze hebben allemaal een carrière mogen stoppen. Dus dat is één groot gevaar. Het tweede, Amélie is nu net weg. Daarmee gaan jullie zeker geconfronteerd worden het moment dat je op het internationale circuit stapt. Ik heb het al een beetje proberen, maar we hebben nog geen slide daarover. Maar in feite, via social media gaan er 3 zaken naar jullie komen. Of kunnen er 3 zaken naar jullie komen. Haatberichten. Je bent een dom wicht, je zou beter wat meer lopen of dit of dat, of je kunt er niks van, of je carrière trekt op niks. Dus die verwijten. Iemand heeft dus geld gehokt op uw match, en je weet het niet. Hè? Die heeft dus €250 verloren. En dat is, ik noem dat de cafépraat, de toogpraat. En ze verwijten u voor van alles en nog wat. Dat zijn gewoon haatberichten. Negeer dat. Probeer die, dus zeker niet reageren. Probeer die persoon te blokkeren via uw social media, dat hem niet meer tot bij u komt. Het is ook het advies zelfs dat je best 2 social media hebt. Dat je ene hebt voor uw vrienden, vriendinnen, dichtste familie. En dat je, als je zover bent, een publieke social media. Die kennen ze, gaan ze misbruiken om u te benaderen. Uw persoonlijke social media die houden heel kort. Met mensen die je echt vertrouwt. Ja? Dus 1, dat zijn die haatberichten die gaan komen. 2, ik spiek even. Het tweede dat naar jullie kan komen zijn bedreigingen. We gaan u iets aandoen. We weten uw mama wonen. We weten waar dat je binnen een week zit. Dat is al stukken erger. Maar er zijn nog 2 niveaus in. Dat kan zijn een individueel die u probeert te beïnvloeden om dan dat je toch iets zou doen wat hij vraagt op die match, zodat hij er kan op gokken en geld winnen. Dat is een individuele persoon. Maar dat kan ook een criminele bende zijn. Op het moment dat een bedreiging is, dat is uw persoonlijk bedreiging van ik ga u iets aandoen, of ik ga uw zus iets aandoen, of uw mama iets aandoen, daar moeten we mee verder gaan. Ja? Dus nou eens via mij, met hen. We hebben er net over gebabbeld. Je kunt er ook mee naar de lokale politie gaan, maar die kennen dat niet. Die gaan daar niks mee doen, die gaan dat catalogeren en gaat niet verder staan. Je kan er ook mee naar de ITIA gaan, maar weet op het moment dat bedreigingen is, en daarom is hij hier en heb ik hem uitgenodigd, dat zij daar het juiste advies kunnen geven en daar onderzoek kunnen doen. Want zij kunnen veel meer dan ons. Zij kunnen gaan traceren wie dat is, zodat ze kunnen ingrijpen naar die persoon of die criminele bende. Ja? En dan het derde dat je kunt tegenkomen via je social media is echt dat ze gaan... ik denk Zizou heeft mij op een bepaald moment zoiets bezorgd dat ze u proberen om te kopen. Wil je wat geld bij verdienen? Ja? Dat kan weer 2 mogelijkheden. Dat kan iemand individueel zijn, die via je social media u kan bereiken. Is het minst erge. Maar dat is poging tot omkoping. Dat is strafbaar. Dat mag niet. Zelfde weg. Ofwel via mij naar de gerechtelijke politie, ofwel naar ITIA. Maar ITIA, oké, die hebben wel bepaalde systemen, maar dat zijn geen politie. Ja? Dat is een organisatie die vanuit Londen moet opereren. het is ook niet altijd evident. Ja. Poging tot omkoping via een georganiseerde criminele bende, dat is de gevaarlijkste. Dat is de maestro-case. Die proberen nu in te palmen. En de keer dat je daarin zit, dan raakt het er niet meer uit. Ja? Dan gaan ze ook u gaan bedreigen en van alles en nog wat naar uw familie toe. Omdat je dan zwak staat. Je durft het niet zeggen. Je durft het niet zeggen tegen je entourage. Je hebt schrik dat het gaat uitkomen. Dat je meegespeeld hebt, ook al was het maar voor €250 of whatever. Dus dan hebben ze u. En dan laten ze u niet meer los. Ja? Dus dat was social media. Ja, nog eens over, het is ook aan bod gekomen, het gokken. Ik heb ook een Belgische speler die geschorst geweest is omwille van gokken op matchen. Dus om duidelijk te zijn, jullie mogen eens dat je in het internationale circuit speelt, mag je niet gokken op matchen van het internationale circuit. Dus ITIA, ATP, WTA. Ja? Dat is duidelijk. De Belgische wet is heel beperkt. Je mag niet gokken op je eigen match. Maar bij ITF, ATP, WTA mag je niet gokken op alle matchen van het circuit. Ik weet dat er bij de jeugd veel meer gegokt wordt. In mijn tijd, ik heb dat nooit gedaan. Dat bestond ook nog niet. Het internet was veel trager. Ging ook nog niet. Maar oké, ik weet dat dat bij jeugd veel meer gebeurt. Ik denk dat jij dat ook kan beamen. Een speler had dat gedaan om zich bezig te houden. Voor €25. Is dat erg? Nee, maar je is wel geschorst geweest. Omdat het binnen de tenniswereld een reglement is dat het niet mag. Ja, en dan het laatste, en dan ga ik het woord geven aan Gert-Jan voor de wrap-up. Inside informatie is ook aan bod gekomen. Wees daar alert rond. Je zit, als je op een toernooi gaat, een internationaal toernooi, zit je te babbelen over een speler in een kleedkamer. Zit je te babbelen. In de professionele toernooi word je gevoerd van het hotel naar de site waar dat er gespeeld wordt of naar de vlieghaven. Je babbelt. Maar die chauffeur die heeft ook oren. Die informatie die je daar deelt van die is gekwetst of een ding gebeurt soms, gaat zich laten verliezen, want hij wil in het andere toernooi binnen geraken. Dit is ook inside informatie. Dus je moet altijd opletten als je babbelt over de matchen waar dat andere oren in de buurt zitten. Want die chauffeur kan ook geen correcte zijn of kan ook een zijn die zegt, oh, dat is goede informatie, ik ga vlug gokken op die match. Dus dat is ook, dus het is niet altijd inside informatie bewust delen, maar dikwijls ook onbewust. Oké?
Mag ik nog heel eventjes tussenkomen voor Gert-Jan? 1 minuutje maar. Wij rekenen vooral op de coachen en de begeleiders. Vooral op de coachen en de begeleiders. Om daarop toe te zien, om ook signalen op te vangen als er iets gebeurt. Er is iets raar. Communiceer via Dirk, via ons, via de website, whatever. Maar signaleer het. Het gokken is exponentieel gestegen de laatste 5 jaar. Met exponentieel bedoel ik, die mannen die hebben een markteconomie maal 4 op 1 jaar. Dat wil zeggen, dat gaat om miljarden. En de wedstrijden die jullie spelen, die zijn daar belangrijk in. Dus als er signalen zijn van criminele bendes, die zoeken de minst resistente weg. Die willen geld verdienen, niet meer met wapens, met drugs, met pooierij, whatever. Die komen op de sport, maar dat is easy money. En jullie zijn gemakkelijke doelwitten. Jullie zijn geen criminelen. Dus sporters die gaan voor hun job, die gaan voor hun sport, maar je bent gemakkelijk beïnvloedbaar en benaderbaar. De coaches die hebben dat door. Die gaan dat sneller ontwaren van zich. Er hangt er daar altijd een rare rond. Die zit op zijn gsm altijd bezig. Die is aan het gokken zelf, want soms wordt het open en bloot gedaan, rond een tennisterrein. Signaleer dat. Breng dat aan. Wij gaan er in samenwerking met Integrity van Tennis mee aan de slag. En we doen dat ook. 24/7. Door de ITIA. Wij gaan echt 24/7. Ik antwoord zaterdag en zondag en 's nachts op mails die binnenkomen op onze website. Is zo. Dat is hetgeen dat we aanbieden. De andere kant van de medaille willen we ook graag snel geïnformeerd worden. Is er een neef, een broer, een kozijn die in dat weet ik waar woont, of een in uw straat die zegt van, zeg, en hoe voelt u vandaag? Blessureke? Nee. Zeg, tweede, zoals Dirk daar straks zei, de tweede set, als je die nu verliest. Dat is toch niet erg, want je bent toch sterker. Niveau 100 tegen niveau 270, bij wijze van spreken, wat een easy win. Nee. Dat zijn al op die moment approaches, benaderingen die je moet melden. Hoe sneller je meldt, hoe sneller dat die mensen uit het circuit gaan. Maar het is een realiteit. Die realiteit, dat staat naast u, zit in de club, zit in uw omgeving, dat ze jullie zullen pogen te benaderen. Meld het. Dank u wel.
Om af te sluiten, ik denk dat Dirk heel veel zaken samengevat hebben, dus ik ga niet inhoudelijk op de sessies terugkeren, maar misschien wel een stap achteruit doen en het bredere kaderen. En ik denk dat we 2 sessies gehad hebben, 1 over doping, 1 over matchfixing en de gokwereld die erbij komt kijken. En in beide sessies stonden eigenlijk waarden centraal. En dat kunnen we eigenlijk ook linken met 2 weken terug. Dan hebben we hier ook samen gezeten rond respect in en voor de tennissport en voor iedereen dat erin betrokken is. En ik denk dat zowel doping als het afwezig zijn van matchfixing ook een vorm is van respect naar onze sport toe en naar onszelf toe. Voor degenen die aanwezig waren, ik denk dat we toen ook gezegd hebben van oké, maar dat respect, als we dat in onze sport willen krijgen, dat zal een verantwoordelijkheid worden van iedereen. En ik denk dat dat ook vandaag terug heel duidelijk naar voren komt. Het is aan spelers, het is aan coaches, het is aan mensen in federaties, het is aan mensen die verder, of toch vrij ver van federaties verwijderd staan, om eigenlijk allemaal samen ervoor te zorgen dat onze sport effectief de schoonste sport ter wereld is en blijft. En dus zie je iets gebeuren waarvan je denkt van dat is niet helemaal correct, 1 ding meenemen. Communiceer onmiddellijk. En beter een keer te veel communiceren dan een keer te weinig communiceren. En ik denk, als het gaat over die communicatie, dat we vandaag heel veel goede tools mee hebben gekregen. Ik denk aan, het is nog niet echt communicatie, maar de geneesmiddelenzoeker. Ik denk aan de app van Itja. Ik stel voor dat iedereen hem zo snel mogelijk installeert en op de telefoon heeft staan. Ik denk aan de site sportfraude.be, die meegegeven is geweest. Ik denk, het staat ergens op de slides, maar ik denk dat het ook goed is dat iedereen van jullie contactgegevens van Dirk in zijn telefoon heeft staan. Zodanig dat als je ergens bent en je hebt niet echt meteen iets waar dat je naartoe kan en je zit wel vast, hops, Dirk is snel bereikbaar. Dus sla ook die gegevens zeker ook op in de telefoon. En zijn er vragen? Kom je in een situatie die niet juist voelt? Besef dat je altijd een keuze hebt. En durf nee te zijn. Durf een grens te stellen. Want het is zoals dat beide personen al hebben aangegeven. Een keer dat je 1 overtreding begaat, hoe klein ook, dan dwingen ze u om verder te gaan. Om verder te gaan en nog verder te gaan en nog verder te gaan. En dan kan je er niet meer uit. En dan gooi je een groot deel van je toekomst eigenlijk weg. Zijn er nog vragen of sluiten we hier af? Dan ga ik jullie danken voor de aandacht. En ga ik iedereen die vandaag een bijdrage geleverd heeft ook nog eens bedanken. Dank u wel iedereen.